Okay, my name is Agnieszka Carpenter, and I'm the Executive Director of BioMaine. BioMaine is the organizer of Maine Bioscience Day. I hope everybody has enjoyed the presentations this week. And right now we are going to be joined by Patrick Breeding from Marin Skincare. He is coming. I just talked to him on the phone. He's having some
Sorry, everyone.
Here he is. There you go. Hey, Patrick.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so before we start talking to Patrick, just a couple items to go over. The chat is on. I see some of you are already saying hi. I see actually some people who are with us at the previous presentation with Chuck Lubilzek talking about ticks. So thank you for joining us for another one. This time we're going to be talking about lobsters. And if you have questions for Patrick, please leave them in the chat. You can start right away. Also, I like to know what schools you're from. So if you can put in the chat what schools you're coming from to us today, that would be nice. And we'll start with just Patrick introducing himself and talking a little bit about his company.
Hey, good morning, guys. Just to get a quick like baseline. Can you guys with videos on just give me a thumbs up if you have already seen the Marin story? You don't even know why I said thumbs up. You just gave it. Well, thank you. Hope I don't ask you to do anything else. Thank you guys for being here. I'm super excited. So I will tell you about the Marin story really quickly because as you can see, I'm just a regular person with a hat on, just hanging out on Zoom with you. And I'd love to just talk with you guys rather than speak at you and like tell you my thing. I'd love to talk with you guys and answer your questions about, we could talk about lobsters or STEM or biomedical engineering, whatever you guys want. So please be super active in that chat and I'll try to go really quickly and we'll get to all of your questions as quickly as possible. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Marin Skincare. We use a protein found in lobster in skincare ingredients, in skincare products for people with eczema, psoriasis, and really dry skin. And we discovered it, as you guys know, with a little bit of science and a little bit of serendipity. So I was in biomedical engineering grad school. So the school you go to after your first 4 years of university, because I was just interested in learning about biomedical engineering, which is really combining engineering, so building cool tools, solutions to problems in learning about new things relative to biology, so life, which could be anything. So I paired up with some lobster scientists who were checking out this really cool protein. And when we started to read the studies about it, we saw that this protein could be really good at protecting and hydrating the skin. And as you know, at that time, my partner had incredibly horrible eczema, which you probably saw in, all over her face, super red, super dried, angry. So we took the scientific approach to develop our own skincare products. We made sure it was safe. Then we started to apply it to her eczema, as well as doing some lab work to make sure we knew how it would work. As you saw, it ended up really calming her eczema. It was a really, really transformational thing for both of us to see. Her, obviously, she was able to go out into the world without scarves and hats and sweatshirts on. And for me, I was able to let my partner just live her life happily and just go out into the world and feel confident about herself, which was a really beautiful thing. So now we make skincare products, which is kind of funny because I was just the dumb boyfriend that would watch her get ready in the morning and get ready to go out. And I didn't know why she was putting on her moisturizer. Why was she using a cleanser? Why was she doing all these things? And now I know a lot about it. So we've been growing as a skincare company. It's been super fun. Just this week, we've had stories on us from NBC, News Center, Maine. Some of you guys or your parents might have seen that last night and throughout the week. And so now we're figuring out, how do we make more products to solve more people's problems? How do we find more people that have this problem so we can help them? So it's a really exciting journey for me that went from, I was in middle school, high school, didn't know what I wanted to do, knew I liked science, went to college, learned a bunch of different things, learned how to do a bunch of different things. I think about it as I learned how to speak the languages of math, physics, chemistry, biology, so I could do these complex, cool things. And then I learned how to bring it into the world through a business. So I will leave off there, and maybe we can start getting to some questions.
Great. We have some questions about lobster already. So one question is, how do you get the protein from the lobster specifically?
Yeah, so that is a really funny and interesting part of our job. So we found a way to milk lobsters. That's right, it doesn't just come from cows. It's not necessarily the same thing, but lobsters have this fluid circulating all throughout their body, and inside this fluid is the protein. In the lobster's body, this protein is in this fluid going all over the place, transporting oxygen, making sure the lobster's body is healthy and at homeostasis. So it's just healthy, across all fronts. And we have to get it out somehow. So we found a way to use a vacuum system right before they become seafood, but right after they go through what's called a stunner, which is where they send electrical pulses through the lobster's body in a really gentle way. So it turns off their nervous system. So to answer your question, Madeline, no lobsters are hurt. And here's why. So you guys know how the electricity in your house works to turn the light bulbs on. The same way that the electricity works in your house, sending electric currents through the house to do things around the house, the same way your body works and the same way organisms work. So your brain is sending electrical pulses through the body to say, all right, move your hand, move your fingers, move it around. We're just a big system of electrical currents when it comes to movement and feeling. If I couldn't transport electricity from here to here, I couldn't feel anything. So what the seafood companies have done is send electricity through the lobsters so it doesn't kill them or hurt them, but it turns off that electrical current so that they can't feel anything. So when we're able to take this fluid out, they can't feel anything. And then if we were to put them back in the ocean and they didn't become seafood, they would regenerate it because they're super incredible creatures. One more cool thing to note, maybe you guys, if you can picture seeing a lobster, or maybe some homework for you guys, next time you go to the grocery store, look at some lobsters in the tank. You might see some that have one really big claw and one little tiny claw. That is because this other claw got popped off and it can actually regenerate the whole claw back. And so I just saw Ayana's face. That was so funny. That's literally what I thought too. But it's crazy, right? There is a organism in our world that can pop off part of its body and regenerate it. That is incredible. Imagine if you could do that with your foot or your toe or something. That would be super convenient. You'd probably do more adventurous and dangerous things. Not condoning that you should do that, but it's a very cool thing. So, all right, I'm definitely rambling, so we can get to the next question here.
There are a lot of questions about lobsters. Some of them you already answered on Wednesday, but you can answer them again. What do you do? So I'll just give you a couple, okay? What do you do with the lobster after? How many lobsters does it take to make your product? Let's stick to these two for now. Oh, you're mute, Patrick.
Can you say the first one again? Sorry.
Sure. What do you do with the lobsters after? Now, and also someone asked, do you work with a fisherman or do you buy the lobsters yourself?
Actually, we go right in to, so the way that the lobster industry works is there's a fisherman that brings it to like the dock, and at the dock they typically sell it, and then who they sell it to, that guy will sell it to a processor that turns the lobster into seafood, and then that processor will either sell their own seafood or sell it to seafood companies as a final, what you might see in the frozen aisle section or in the produce section in the grocery store. So what happens after we use the lobster, we didn't actually want to have to go and take any more lobsters out of nature than were already being taken out, if that makes sense. So we only go and work with seafood companies that are already going to turn this lobster into seafood. So we're really using something that if we weren't out there milking lobsters, this fluid actually would have been going down the drain anyway. So we're taking something that would have just been wasted and finding a new, completely new use for it. So it helps the lobster industry, but it also helps people with these skin conditions that we help. So it's really an amazing win-win for sustainability as well as people that like skincare products.
Great. And then how many lobsters do you need to make your product?
It's kind of funny. It ends up being one lobster produces enough for one product. So it's a pretty easy math for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here we go. Do you ever use different colored lobsters for this product, like blue lobsters
Oof.
if they're captured?
I wonder if I don't want to waste too much of your guys' time, but I found a blue lobster. I think it's like 1 in 2 million. And I spent so much. That's right, Vincent. I saw your reaction. That is, everyone was freaking out. I found a blue lobster and I got a really good picture of it somewhere. I'll try to keep talking and scrolling through and see if I could show it to the screen. I remember that day, the guys, the fishermen there were screaming, blue lobster, but oh yeah, here it is. You might not be able to see it very well. Can you? Yeah, it won't really focus, eh? Oh, you see that? See how blue it is?
Yeah. Is that you wearing your?
That is me wearing someone else's helmet. That person's helmet was Scott's helmet, apparently. But yeah, that's the blue lobster. Pretty cool.
What did you do with it?
I sold it for $3 trillion. Just kidding.
Whoa.
It probably just turned into seafood. I don't know. but at least I got a picture with it, right?
Yeah, that's so cool. Okay, is the lobster fluid the main ingredient, I'm assuming, of your product?
So we actually do a little bit of chemistry to take it out because in the fluid there's a lot of different things, and we don't want to throw necessarily alphabet soup into a skincare product and not know exactly what's in there. So we do a little bit of chemistry on our end that takes the protein out or really isolates the protein in solution. So it allows us to say, all right, this is like 99.9% what we want in there. And so we use that. We needed to make sure there's a lot of things to think about, from will your product smell or taste like lobster? The answer is no. But you need to make sure that when we're doing these new things, like nobody has ever taken lobster stuff and put it into a skincare product, obviously, before. So we had to think about, okay, how are we going to make sure that we get the same stuff every time? How do we make sure it never grows bacteria in your product? All of these things that when you pick up a product and you look at it, you don't really think about, but so much thought has gone into it. So we did a lot of that process type of stuff. So it ends up being just the protein that's in there.
Mm-hmm. And I have a somewhat related question from Riley from Piscatagus Community Middle School. Riley wants to know how many tries it took you to figure out the right combination to get this product right.
That's a good question. So there's a couple answers. So from the formula side, probably dozens of tries, because we don't just make it just out of the lobster protein. We had other skin hydrating, skin barrier protecting properties to it. And so we went back and forth with a professional skincare laboratory to make these products. And again, I am no expert when it comes to what does a good product feel like. That's my partner, Amber. So she went back and forth with their skincare chemist to say, I want it to hydrate a little bit more. I want it to be a little bit more thick when it rubs on. I don't want it to feel greasy. Everything that you ask for in a good product, right? And so we went back and forth with them a couple dozen times to arrive at the final formula. And we knew it was the right formula to go with sometimes you have to use your gut. And so we knew it was right when it started to beat out all of the other products Amber was getting from Ulta, Sephora, Target. It was a better moisturizer than anything she had gotten there. And when we started to have our friends use it, and particularly some of our very manly, like older guy friends would use it, like working construction guys, they'd put it on and be like, oh, this feels great. It feels like butter on my skin. That's when we knew we had a good product, and it was time to move forward with it.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks so much, Patrick, for sharing. I have a question here from Adrian, and it's not related so much to lobster, but I wanted to ask it. So I want you to go back to middle school times now. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm. Hold on. Okay, I'm there.
Okay. The question is, when you were first learning all this science and physics, what was it like? What was your experience with science in middle school?
To be honest with you, it was very confusing, and I had little context, because what I wish I would have done is gone back and thought about, all right, this thing that I'm learning, unfortunately, I don't know that I'm a slow learner, but I'm one of these people that I need to understand the fundamental aspects by which something works until I can really start to play around with it and innovate, or whatever you want to call it. If I don't understand the base components of how something works, I just can't wrap my head around it. So it took me longer to learn some concepts, and I wasn't the best student. So what I wish I would have done is had more real life context for what I was learning. So if I was learning about the ecosystem, I wish I would have gone out into the outside world and looked for things, tried to observe things, tried to notice things. Because if you don't have any context, then you're just reading this thing, and you're just like, okay, I have read this thing and I am trying to now memorize it. Rather, these are all real things that happen in the world. They're all real things that like go on. Like, there's complex math when you look at a leaf. You just need to see it and think about it for a little bit and get some context. So I wish I would have taken what I was learning and then realized, okay, this is not something that my parents or my teachers are forcing me to do. And I was a little bit, I wouldn't say rebellious, but I certainly didn't want to comply with what my parents were telling me, and maybe people can relate to that. But I would have been like, okay, these, when you really think about it, just me thinking about it, these are actually really cool things going on. And I need to take the time on my own to go out and observe things in the world and see, all right, this thing that I read is out there. And it's actually really cool to go and learn about the world, especially, I don't know, when you just embrace the adventure of life. We went on one vacation. The one vacation we went on in grad school, we went to Antigua, which is down in the Caribbean. And for the first time, I saw a starfish, and I was like, oh my gosh, I only thought that was in like National Geographic or in the books about oceans, and then I saw it. It's like, oh my, this is the coolest thing ever. And then we saw a barracuda, and I thought about finding Nemo, and I was, you just see real stuff in real life, and then it's all connected.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you so much for sharing this personal story. We have a question from Presque Isle Middle School. And students there want to know, how did you even begin using lobster? Have you tried any other type of crustacean?
Yeah, so we happen to use lobster because we're in Maine and we worked with Maine lobster scientists, but there are actually some really cool scientists up in Canada that are milking starfish. So we're not the first ones to milk crustaceans. So don't look at me like I'm weird or something. And there also are some snails out in coastal California that grow on rocks. They're called limpets, keyhole limpets. If you look at KLH, the letters, they're called keyhole limpet hemocyanin. And anyway, that's used in a lot of vaccines. A lot of these proteins from crustaceans are used in drugs and vaccines. So what they do, just really quickly, the drug company makes a specific drug. Let's say we have a cancer somewhere in the body. They make a specific drug, and they put this crustacean protein with it, that when these two together are delivered to the tumor, this drug does its specific job to fight the cancer, and this protein stimulates an immune response. So you're going and you're targeting the cancer, and you're bringing an enhanced version of the immune system with it to help it fight. So some of those immune processes of helping the immune system go back to normal is actually what we're researching. Some of our protein is doing. If you think about a condition like eczema, your skin gets really red, really inflamed often. That's because of inflammation. So now that we're seeing a little bit of inflammation research, that's really cool, and it makes sense because other people are using similar proteins for the same thing. Can I just quickly ask what Vincent's question is, because I feel so bad. He's been holding his hand up.
Sure. I think, Vincent, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
So my sister has eczema, and my parents asked me if you guys give out like free tiny samples.
We don't happen to have samples. Thank you so much for asking, because I know there's probably little context around it. When I was in school, I didn't make very much money. So we invested our savings and all the money we could get into making our first products. So unfortunately, all we have is our first products. So I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. I see one question a couple times, and it's about allergies and what if someone is allergic to lobster?
Yeah, so it's really a mixed bag. We don't really advise people that have a shellfish allergy to use it. However, the worst person that has a relationship with our company that has a shellfish allergy is using it, our insurance guy. So he has a shellfish allergy and he's using our product. So I'm not condoning the use of it. So but it ends up being really different. So, everyone's bodies are different. They respond to things in different ways. Some people can't be in the same room as a lobster. Some people can bathe in lobster, they just can't eat it. I hope they don't. So we advise people that use the product just to, hey, just use a little tiny bit on your skin, observe for any type of redness, inflammation, or reaction. And then if it's not irritating it, you're probably fine and you can continue use. If it is irritating, it's not something for you. And that's the unfortunate case, but luckily it's been fine for everyone so far.
Great, thank you, Patrick. We probably have time only for one more question, and I saw it somewhere. I can't find it now, but I think it was, when did you, oh no, and this is a question from Melissa. How old were you when you started to really get interested in science?
Oh, it depends on when it ebbs and flows. I don't know if it was in the story for Maine Bioscience Day, but I got really motivated by STEM when I was in 10th grade, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So I saw him go through a lot of things. I saw him go through the chemo, the radiation, all of the visits and stuff. And I don't think I could quite process everything that was going on, but I think I was still, I think I still had a North Star that was kind of guiding my path towards helping people. I wanted to help people's quality of life because of my experience with my dad. And I wanted to do it in the field of bioscience because I thought it was really interesting and I thought it was a place where I could make a lot of impact. That's not to say that anywhere else could make less of an impact. I think art can make a big impact. I think singing and music, I think expressing yourself in whatever type of way or allowing somebody to express themselves and just kind of release stress or be them it can be a really healing form of medicine for people. But for me, it was bioscience. So that was in 10th grade for me. And I had a tough time getting interested in it because I was dealing with the things you deal with in middle school and high school, all the stress, all your friends, all like the peer pressure to like do whatever, you know, and like especially in high school, you have a lot of pressure to go to college, and you just kind of have to figure out your own path sometimes. So I think once I figured out my path, which started in 10th grade, it took a long time, and I figured it out by the end of college. Now I'm really interested in it. And I think a big part of that was to stop caring about what people thought about me and stop caring that it's okay to find like weird things cool. It's okay to think in a different way than everyone else. Because if you let what people think of you determine who you are, you're nobody else but a combination of what they want you to be. You're not being you. So that's that would be my recommendation, is stop caring what stop caring what your friends think. Maybe they're not your real friends if they want you to do stuff that's not you, you know, or maybe you just have to go off and chart your own path. That's certainly what I did, and some of my friends are doing. And yeah, no need to go into any more detail there.
Okay, thank you so much. I think it's been very inspirational for you to not only talk about science, but just your story. We do have to hop off. I apologize to everybody who still had questions. If you have a very pressing question, please email us. You can go to biomain.org, find our email address, and we will get the questions to Patrick, I promise. If you're joining us for our next session with IDEX, it's starting in 2 minutes. Patrick, thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for participating in Maine Bioscience Day this year. Have a great Friday, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Have a